is this, and as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about something that's a little bit on the controversial side, I guess. We all know the song and dance. Yeah, I think you know the rest of this video. But anyways, I was having a restock with Mr. Bit, and of course there was one thing that was on my mind, and of course he kept talking about how developers innovate the technology, which they do in fact. But the problem here is that developers, and I did citizen chat, that developers are important, but so are customers. And he said something about, customers being fed wrong information. Truth is, it's not really about wrong information. It's just that customers don't give a shit. One of those proofs is in this thing. How's the Xbox proven wrong? Prove a lot of people wrong? Simple answer. Who had the most developers? Not them. They didn't have. They had to compete for some of their developers, and even they had to lie to the guy. And no, I don't know his name, but they had to lie to the guy who created the Metal Gear Solid series and said, "Here's a machine that you can do anything on." And of course, that was a flat-out lie. And the PS3 is a hunk of piece of shit. But basically, Sony lied to their developers to reel them in. That's where most of the developers went to. All the developers went to no, well, not all of them. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Because there are always going to be those small, limited developers who go in and go into less selling machines. But this is where most of the developers went to. The majority of them. They flat out ignored this thing. Most of them called this thing a child's toy, which you see most of those 360 versus PS3 videos. They always keep referring to the Wii as the child's toy, and that it already lost. And what makes that funny is, guess which one won? Guess which one was the highest seller? And that is the one that won the war. And neither the 360 or the PS3 fanboys will ever admit to this. Yeah. It won. And they still will not say it. They still will not, most of them will not accept that fact. They just call it a child's toy, and then they completely ignore the sales. Yes, I know there have been Apple users. And the main reason is that the customers didn't give a shit. They just don't care. It was the least most expensive one out there, so that was the one they got. It had less features. They didn't give a shit about any of the features. They never cared about the features. You can tell them all the features you want until you're blue in the face. I personally think Bluetooth's a piece of shit because it loves to disconnect on you without telling you. That's why my keyboard and mouse are fucking wired in. But developers don't care. Sony at least made a better decision with making a cheaper model and more thinner, and I don't know, it'll be more competitive, but yeah, it's done and deal. And all you have to do is look at one of Vegas Underground, but now Iceberg Creative, when he basically was talking about a game of his going to the Max called Warhammer Online, and I'm sorry I don't have a picture up because I didn't really plan this last part, but anyways, he had the image up. He was talking about Warhammer going to the Max. And what's going on? Well, I'm seeing Blizzard coming out with a new extension pack for WoW. And the reason why Blizzard is doing this is because EA or Warhammer has basically doubled their subscription base. They doubled it by bringing in the Mac customers because basic customers don't give a shit if it plays. Thank you, Mac, for telling me it was 5. but they're not going to care. They just don't care. You know, if it's available on their machine, they get it. If it's not, it's not. The complaint about Vista was that it was a slow operating system. But they just don't give a shit. And, you know, I heard, and the main reason why I brought Adobe PC into the last video was that he said in the end everybody cares about performance. You know, thinking that somehow owned EMIC. Well, he may have owned EMIC in most of his other complaints, other than some arguments that I find a little bit on the odd side. He did not argue beat EMIC on that one argument because, like I said in the last video, me, Dragon Ball Jiu-Jitsu, and Splitpog, we worked in the custom PC market, building custom PCs for the customers, and none of them gave a shit about fucking performance. I mean, they wanted it to boot up faster, but that, even though that does have something to do with performance, but overall, it didn't really have anything to do with the overall performance. I know it's a bit confusing, don't ask. But it doesn't matter, you know. You can say all this shit you want to these customers. They're going to go for the most basic shit that they find. And they don't care if it's got less features or not. That is what they want. Internet, simple gameplay, cheap, easy game playing. They don't care about the features or any of that shit. Now, I've got to cut this short because only 10 minutes long, but I hope I didn't go past that. But anyways, just to let you know, this is how it is. You know, if Steve Ballmer wants to run around yelling developers, 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 he might as well, he should have gone up there and also said customers, 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 because in the end, you can put all your developers into one piece of hardware and let it get beat out by something that was even built lesser than that. But in the end, it ain't gonna fucking matter. The customers make the decision, not the developers, in my honest opinion.